Of Long Beach Organic. Hey, Joe.
Hi.
There's a lot of things we want to talk to Joe about. First and foremost is Long Beach Organic's partnership with Cal State Long Beach to help students who might have some food anxiety, and they provide produce there so they get fresh produce, which is terrific. Joe, how long has this partnership been going on between your organization and Cal State Long Beach?
Not very long, since spring, since around April.
So it's just new.
It's new. We have one of our gardeners who never wants us to say his name, so that's good. He was already donating some things out of his own garden to the university food pantry, and also through his church. They were making regular runs there, so he was involved, and he just suggested it. We have a certain bed set aside for charity. It's kind of like a teaching area, The way the community gardens work is people rent a space to grow their own food. So most of the space is taken up by people growing for their own tables. But we do have a couple demonstrations areas, and we've taken it to various, like the Rescue Mission and various places. But he suggested this, and it just turned out to be a really good fit. During the COVID shutdown starting in March, we weren't able to do any of the normal spring and summer things we do. We have fundraising parties, we have classes, we have all kinds of things, potlucks, but we couldn't do any of that. So this gave us a focus. We sort of poured our energy into organizing a weekly roundup of produce at our various gardens. We have 8 of them. And we came up with a strategy to get it all washed and sorted and ready for delivery on Friday morning, and it's been working well. It's a good fit.
Something just slipped through my mind. Providing it for them. This Long Beach Organic is the subject of a story by Asia Morris that is up right now on the Hilo. It's a lovely little story and a beautiful video, about 7 minutes. In the video, someone actually mentions that they knew someone who had food issues and they would get public assistance. But they said when they got public assistance, most of the time that food was kind of processed, kind of stuff that is canned or that you store, and that it was very difficult to get healthy, green food. So I imagine having this partnership with Cal State Long Beach must be extremely advantageous for the people receiving it.
I think so. And everything you mentioned is just by necessity. Food banks have to store things and have to warehouse items. So of course the canned and the processed food are paramount. And the food pantry, and frankly, I've only been there once. I've only seen their part of the operation once. But they do have bags of the things you're mentioning, maybe snack bars and cup of noodles and things like that. But they're also able to provide a second bag of fresh stuff from us, and from a few other sources too. Some people donate fruit or potatoes or onions, things that aren't so perishable. So it is a challenge. We put our each garden has a little plastic bin. I asked the gardeners to put whatever they would like in that. My interns and volunteers, we scatter around Thursday afternoon and we pick those bins up. And we harvest whatever is in our plots, our designated plots. And it all has to be washed and sorted and left overnight for the driver in the morning. And, you can leave fresh greens overnight. You can't store them much longer than that at room temperature. And they're given away by 10, 11 o'clock. So it's a pretty quick turnaround. It might be difficult to do on a larger scale. And it's why, food banks do rely pretty heavily on non-perishables. So this is, like I say, it's a way to boost the nutritional aspect and the color and the freshness and flavor. And I also think it's a way to let someone know that we're trying, that we care. We grew this for you. And I think that's a nice message.
About how many pounds are you able to provide each week to Cal State Long Beach for the kids?
Well, since we started in April, we averaged a little over 100 pounds a week.
Wow.
We had a peak season. Our record was 336. I had bought a scale by then. It took me a while to buy a scale, so the first few are estimates. But we clocked an actual ton about a month ago. We passed that mark of 2,000 pounds. And things are dwindling now. This is September. And if you're a gardener, you know that you can't grow much in September. Your summer crops die and you're waiting for fall to plant the winter crops. So it's dwindling now. We're doing less than 100 pounds a week, but we still have some things and we're still keeping it going. And then come October, it'll pick up again. And we're hoping our second ton will come a lot faster than the first one did.
That's amazing. That is a lot.
And it's one tomato at a time, one stalk of Swiss chard. We grew a lot of zucchini, and I'm Italian and I'm a cook, and I really hate big zucchini because ini is little. That's what a zucchini is a little squash, So when people say, look at my zucchini, and I'm thinking, no, that's the zucca. That's not a zucchini. It's got no flavor anymore. But, they were happy to take them. And I'm thinking, someone would give us a giant zucchini. I think, oh, good, 5 pounds. So we got motivated. We got a little competitive to get that first ton. But it is amazing how it added up to literally a ton of food over 3 months.
Do you get requests, Joe? Do people say, hey, could you grow more of this? So the kids really like that?
I've asked Christina at the food pantry if they're what they like. What she goes, everything. They take everything. So the need is very strong. But so we haven't gotten any. If they start getting picky, maybe they'll request things. But no, it all gets used. I believe it all gets used.
Hey, Joe,
they have over 200 students a week go through their pop-up.
Wow.
And again, I've only been there once, but the way I understand that this used to work is the pantry was on campus and students could come in a few times a week and take 5 items. Now they can't have that open to students now. So they opted for a once a week drive-through where they pop open their car, bags are put in there, it's no contact. So they have, and they reserve a spot. So they have over 200 reservations a week. And Christina there told me that word got around about the fresh produce, and some people were coming just for that.
Oh, wow.
So that was yeah.
Awesome. Hey, Joe, we just this weekend was crazy weather, and that it's led to this. And then I've heard now they're saying we might have incredible winter weather that comes right after this. So the climate, as we know, is kind of nuts.
Yeah.
What's it like this year for you? Obviously, a gardener, a farmer is all about conditions. Has this been a good year as far as production? Has it been challenging to kind of work with this?
It's been a very good year. We over all the gardens in general, we had great tomato production, and these things are just kind of up to luck, what temperature the nights are, if there's enough sunny days in a row. If things are cloudy, really cloudy in June, sometimes you get mildew and you lose some things. But it was a really productive year for us. And also, a lot of people don't realize how seasons work in Southern California. They think fall is the end. No, the end of September, beginning of October, that's our spring. That's when you start planting things the rest of the country plants in early spring. So we're going to start, I always wait superstitiously for the equinox, September 20th or 21st, whatever it is, and then start planting all the root crops, all the leaf crops, salad greens. All that stuff can go in now, and you can keep planting it, keep harvesting it all the way through winter. That's our spring. And our summer starts around March. That's when you put in your tomatoes, and when the rest of the country's thawing out. Now, climate change has maybe moved that up a bit. It used to be April, but I've noticed people planting their tomatoes earlier these days and having good results. So there's been some slight shifts, but that's always been the case in Southern California. We have the 2 seasons. We have spring that starts in October, and summer starts in March. And then we have a short season now called hell, that about August 15th to September 15th. You can't do a thing.
It's called what?
Hell. It's what I call it. It's not an official season, but
nothing going on.
Not to a gardener, they know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's hell. This weekend, anything that wasn't already dead died, and there's just nothing you can do about it. You just wait till the nights to cool off so you can start over again.
looking out the window at the weather right now, I completely could see what you're saying. It's awful. Oh, let's talk about Long Beach Organic. How do people go about getting these plots of land? Do you get them once you have them? Are they yours? Do you have to renew every year? How does the process work?
Okay, you're talking about for gardeners.
Yes.
Yeah, we have 8 locations. Our website is longbeachorganic.org. No S, not Long Beach Organics. It's longbeachorganic.org. And there's we have a new website we just launched yesterday, actually, and the sign up is easier than you can sign up for the waiting list. All the gardens have a waiting list of various lengths. Some of them are quite long, but others, the turnaround is a month or two. Our most popular gardens, people wait a year or two to get a spot. But once your turn is up, the rent for a 10 by 10 plot adds up to $105 a year. It's paid in three payments. So it's not a terrible lot of money, when you think of it. I think of it as 2 fancy coffees a month, or a 6-pack of cheap beer. And then in addition to paying the rent, though, we require, because there is a waiting list, we require them to be gardened year round. People do have to use they can't treat it like my gym membership. They can't rent the plot and not use it. So we do require they use it. They're required to pitch in at our community work days to keep the common areas cleaned up. And that's probably the most important. And they're also required to use organic methods, no chemicals. So those are like the 4 basic requirements.
Let's talk about that. It is called Long Beach Organic. And in Asia's video, again, I really recommend that you guys take a look at it. It's really wonderful. You on there mention how basically the land that you're able to get is normally not the best dirt you're going to find. And that you guys basically go in and enrich it. What do you do to make that soil from, as you call it, I think in the video, bad dirt, into something that is capable of producing food?
I haven't seen the video in a while. But yeah, our mission is to take empty lots and turn them into gardens. So what we're doing is reconditioning bad soil into good soil. And it's an environmental mission. We're taking a problem and turning it into a problem property and turning it into something that's an asset. So basically gardening itself is what creates good soil. And because we're not using chemicals, we're using organic material. Every tree trimmer in town is willing to dump off wood chips because it saves them money. They don't have to haul it away and pay to dump it somewhere, or wood chips are available from the city. You can use that directly, and you need some sort of liquid fertilizer, say fish emulsion, something. You need nitrogen and you need carbon. So wood chips and liquid organic fertilizer would get you started. We have compost operations at all the gardens, and then just over the seasons of people enriching their soil with organic material, with manure, with compost, with mulch on top of it. It all works its way into the soil like the forest floor, and the soil gets deeper and richer every year. And that also means it's absorbing water and it's absorbing carbon. So we're turning around. When you neglect soil, you have an environmental problem, and we're turning that around on a small scale.
As always, we take questions from our viewers, and one has asked about the lots themselves. How do you go about finding the vacant lots that end up becoming the gardens? Do people, will these to you? Do you go out driving and looking for vacant lots? How do these, because I think didn't you just open up?
Yeah. We just opened up, we just dedicated it. It's been open since February, but we finally named it the Crown Victory Community Garden. We named that on Saturday at San Redondo Avenue. Well, first of all, some of our gardens are on city property that's managed by the Parks Department. Okay. So that's a lease with the city, and they're happy to. These are properties that aren't really right for parks, but the Parks Department owns them. So in these cases, they're happy to have us move in. They don't have to. For anyone, owning an empty lot is kind of a headache. You have people dumping sofas on it. You have people moving in. People dump junk. You're constantly being told to clear it and cut the weeds down. And so if you let us use it, you don't have that headache. We don't pay more than $1 a year on our properties, but we do insure them, so there's a slight savings. But it's still, we ask for a 5-year lease because it takes a while to get a garden built and to get it the soil good, and you want at least a few years after that to use it. So that's kind of a stumbling block. It's rare that a private property owner is going to want strangers gardening on his property for 5 years. But for instance, at the South 40 Garden, which is the one featured in the beginning of that video, we're on our 10th year of a 3-year lease. So sometimes, sometimes things go just fine and they linger for quite a while. The city has incentivized urban agriculture recently in 2 ways. One is there's an empty lot tax, and the other is they adopted a state, I want to say law, I guess, statute called the Urban Agriculture Incentive Zone. And under certain circumstances, there's a checklist, but if your property qualifies and you lease it to an urban agricultural project of some kind for 5 years, you get substantial tax savings. So, for instance, this Crown Victory Community Garden on Redondo Avenue, it's in a very dense area. The property is worth a lot of money. I mean, this is the thing. The densest areas of town have the least amount of property available, the highest demand for gardening, but the fewer properties are available because they are so valuable. Yeah. So, but he doesn't want to build on it and he doesn't want to sell it yet. So he saved over $2,000 a year in property tax by letting us do this project. And he said $700 in an empty lot tax a year. So we're talking about a $3,000 savings and not having to maintain the empty lot. And we're hoping he sort of forgets about it and lets us go for 10 or 12 years. But, we do have a guarantee of 5 years.
Well, hopefully he's not watching this because he just, hey, I forgot it. Hey, another question. I think you've kind of answered this, Joe. Someone said, is the garden strictly helping out Cal State Long Beach students? But I think you mentioned you've worked with other organizations, right?
Well, the main focus of our garden is our members who come in to grow food for their own tables. That's our mission. That's what we do. But as far as the charity work we do, currently that's been our focus. We have had, like I said, we've had some demonstration areas that we give the food to charity, but we haven't really been very organized about rounding it up and delivering it on a regular basis. So this weekly drive to do this to help the pop-up drive-through at CSULB sort of got us focused. And I was happy to have some summer interns this summer working with masks. Some of them are featured in the videos. Mm-hmm. It gave them a focus. So we're planting this, we're going to harvest this, we're going to wash it, we're going to take it to the college. It's a nice story and easy to understand. Mm-hmm. So we think we're going to continue to prioritize it. I'm not saying we would never also help other homeless shelters or food banks. For instance, the Long Beach Rescue Mission feeds 500 people a day, and in the past we've taken a lot of produce there. Mm-hmm. But it's a drop in the bucket what we give them, and also they're not doing the kind of communal food haul they usually do right now. They're giving out sandwiches and cold lunches and box dinners. So they're not using the vegetables so much. Right. So we did shift from that to the college.
Let's shift from talking about who it benefits to someone else who it benefits, which is the people themselves who grow it. In this video, that's a subject that comes up, is that the people who are doing the gardening themselves not only benefit, obviously, from eating terrific fresh food that you mentioned earlier when we were talking, somehow just tastes better when you grow it.
Oh, yeah.
Or other kind of emotional, psychic kind of benefits of gardening, right?
Absolutely. Gardening is just very gratifying and satisfying. If you get over the occasional disaster, tomato worm that eats your tomato, or, not all your plants are going to make it. But there's just something so gratifying about Julia Child calls it the pride of authorship. I made this. Well, I grew this. It's empowering. It's I think there's been studies that show that the physical act of gardening is good for depression. I don't know if some say there's microbes in the soil that give you certain chemicals. I just think it's good to work with your hands and be outdoors and work at your own pace. It's good physical activity. You do at your own pace. So it's excellent for us older folks to stay in shape. I've had so many people tell me that if they're going through a rough patch or I don't know, they lose their job, or the garden is their oasis. They can come to and feel good about themselves. I know I personally, I joined the garden myself as a gardener in 2005. And in the crash of 2008, 2009, my husband and I lost our retail business. And it was depressing, bankruptcy. It was really a difficult time emotionally. And I had the garden and I was there all the time. And it was just, I felt like a failure, but I didn't feel like a failure when my seed sprouted. And whether you're gardening, even if you're cheating and using Miracle-Gro, if you grow your own food, right, and eat it the day you picked it, yeah, the freshness, you just never experienced a tomato until you've had one that was picked ripe that day. And the same with lettuce, the same with asparagus that comes out of the ground, and my asparagus never gets home. I munch on it while I'm gardening. So this is something you can't buy except maybe at a farmer's market. Yeah. But by necessity, supermarkets, including Whole Foods and Gelson's and the expensive ones, those tomatoes are picked green. They have to be. The fruit is picked hard. It has to be warehoused. It has to be shipped. It's great that it's available to us, but it's nothing like garden produce. Nothing at all.
In the video, by the way, and I'm curious if this maybe then has something to do with your own personal experience. Someone there says that Joe has this terrific kind of sixth sense that you can tell when someone is going through a bit of a rough patch and that you'll check in on them. Is that correct? That you have a good feel for when people are kind of in need?
I should have watched this video before we started. I have no idea who said that. But no, I don't have any kind of a sixth sense, but I do deal with all the payments. I recruit people. I do an orientation. I show them everything. I'm their contact person. I deal with all their payments. So if they're having a difficult time, they'll tell me, So I probably am privy to more information than others. But the garden itself provides a sense of community that you wouldn't otherwise have. People join it because they want to grow food. But these are small gardens in various neighborhoods. And people meet their neighbors for the first time. Southern Californians are famous for sticking to ourselves, kind of, staying in our houses, not getting to know our neighbors. And human nature, you stick to your own language, your own age group, your own ethnicity. But in the community garden, you have one of everybody because it's a cross section. So it just gives me a lot of joy to see friendships form and people learn a few words of someone else's language and try each other's cooking. And, Asian gardeners grow things I've never heard of, but I know what they are now, and we'll trade. And Hispanic gardeners, have special things they grow from south of the border that we've never seen before, like epizote. I had no idea what that is. Now we have it growing wild, and I actually cook with it. So there's a really enrichment there in the community it's a secondary benefit of people getting to know their neighbors and getting to know a little outside their circle because they have gardening in common.
And don't you have sometimes events like at the end of months or growing periods where everyone gets together and eats or something like that? Like,
we part of our routine is each of our gardens is assigned a Saturday, first Saturday, third Saturday, where we have a work day. And at some of those gardens, people want to come in, do their clean. It's a cleanup. It's a big cleanup for the common areas. We turn the compost bins. We weed the parkways out at the curb. We clean up the common areas. And then at some of them, we have a big potluck. and it's great. And usually it's a brand new garden. Your first potluck has some Domino's pizza maybe, and some will be grilled smarter. But within a year, people are bringing vegetable salads and they're trying different things with the produce they grew. Another thing we do under normal circumstances, pre-COVID and hopefully post-COVID, is a quarterly cooking class, because I love to cook. And a former intern of mine is also a cooking instructor, and she gives up, a few days a year, and we have a big informal, warts and all cooking demonstration in the garden, in our biggest garden. We have an earth oven, a pizza oven made out of clay. So we have many pizza parties there. We also do this for fundraisers. We normally, not this year, but in April, we have an Earth Day fundraiser at the pizza oven, and then a more formal dinner in August, which is at a private home, but it features lots of produce from the gardens that the gardeners have donated. And we do the cooking ourselves, and it's really fun. And so those are things that have evolved over the years, and I'm hoping we'll get back to soon.
It sounds fantastic, and people can find out about this on your website. Give the website again, Joe.
longbeachorganic.org.
And that's singular, organic, not organics.
Yeah, Organics is actually, Long Beach Organics is the name of a defunct cannabis club. So there used to be some hysterical crossover with the emails and stuff, but legal cannabis killed them, I'm afraid. So I don't have any good stories for you yet.
Okay, longbeachorganic.org.
.org, yeah.
Okay, that's great. And I want to thank you, Joe, for being here. We have actually a lot more to talk about, but we're kind of done. Be sure and check out the story and the video, including you, Joe. Check it out.
I will check it out.
And his Long Beach Organic. It's really terrific stuff done by Asia Morris. And for everybody else, do what you can with the rest of this day, as Joe would say, hell, and have some fun in it. Stay cool, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Steve.